28 weeks ago, Don and his wife, Alice, live in a country house with 4 other people during the outbreak of the rage virus in England. Don and Alice are incredibly contented that their 2 children are on a school trip to Spain, far away from the tragedy. They allow a young child to enter the house, but the infected have followed him and broken in. All their companions were bitten and infected. Don abandons Alice to save himself. He runs towards the lake, where Jacob is preparing the boat, but Jacob accidentally fell and got bitten. Don successfully leaves the town. 28 weeks later, all the infected have starved to death. Parts of London have been secured by an American-led NATO force, which is now accepting the return of English citizens who had been out of state during the crisis. Don and Alice's children, Tammy and Andy, are among them. Everyone lives in the Green Zone, a protected area on the Isle of Dogs, a peninsula on London's East End.
Although District 1 is completely safe,
snipers patrol the rooftops in case of another outbreak. Leaving the Green Zone is forbidden because troops are still cleaning up the corpses that have been rotting for 6 months. Don manages one of the apartment buildings in the zone. He tells Tammy and Andy that he tried to save their mother but there was no hope. Tammy and Andy decide to sneak out into London and visit their old home to retrieve personal items. There, Andy discovers Alice in the attic, delirious but alive. Alice is taken back to the Green Zone by NATO troops. Scarlett, an army medical officer, notices an old bite wound on her and performs a blood test. Alice has the rage virus embedded in her blood, but she is immune to its effects. Nevertheless, she is a transporter who can infect others with her saliva or blood. Alice is ordered to be executed by the commanding officer Stone, even though she had the upper hand on battling the virus. In the meantime, Don sneaks into the room where Alice is being held. Andy and Tammy had bitterly accused him of abandoning her, and he wants to explain himself. He tells her that he loves her. They kiss tenderly, and Don is being infected with the virus. He beat Alice and crushed her skull, and he flees into the Green Zone, killing several soldiers and infecting others. Scarlett rescues Tammy and Andy after realizing that Andy and Alice have a genetic defect that could make him immune to the virus's effects. The army has rushed quickly to contain the disease, herding the Green Zone residents into safe rooms. Andy is separated from Tammy and Scarlett and moved to a different room with other residents. Don has entered in this room and threatening the room, spreading the virus. Andy tries to flee through an air vent. Residents in the Green Zone are allowed to roam freely, as are the others who have been infected. The snipers are commanded to kill anyone. Scarlett and Tammy make it into a storehouse alongside Andy and a few others, including one of the snipers, Doyle, who abandoned his post when he couldn't bring himself to kill Andy. He informs them that unless they can escape the city, the army will kill them as well. He leads the survivors through the streets. Don is following them, unknowingly to them. Doyle meets with a helpful helicopter pilot Flynn, who encourages them to get out of the Green Zone as soon as possible, as the area is likely to be firebombed. They make it into a pedestrian tunnel under the canal and barely escape the firestorm. In the meantime, about 50 other people were able to escape the firestorm and break through the Green Zone's perimeter into London. Doyle and his crew make it to a park and relax. Scarlett informs him that Tammy and Andy can help with the rage virus and thus are more important than Scarlett or Doyle. Doyle is prompted to wait for the helicopter in Regent's Park by Flynn. When Flynn arrives, he refuses to take anyone other than Doyle. But when the infected appear, he launches his helicopter into the crowd, eviscerating many of them. Tammy and Andy are taken into the city by Doyle and Scarlett. They will meet Flynn at Wembley Stadium, where they will be flown to safety on the other side of the English Channel. The 4 of them dodge the infected. Soldiers are killing the infected with poison gas and flamethrowers. Scarlett and Doyle know the army will assume they are infected and kill them all too. Scarlett, Tammy and Andy get into a car. Scarlett pops the clutch while Doyle pushes the car, jump-starting it. As they drive away, the soldiers incinerate Doyle. Avoiding helicopters, Scarlett drives the car into a subway station. They decide to follow the train tracks to Wembley. Scarlett uses the night vision on Doyle's rifle to guide them, but they are separated when Tammy and Andy cross over corpses on the escalator. Tammy and Scarlett try to locate Andy, but suddenly Don appears and beats Scarlett to death with Doyle's pistol. Then Don pursues Andy, assaults him, and bites him. Don is shot by Tammy and saved Andy, who is immunized like his mother but is covered in infected blood. The children proceed to Wembley Stadium to meet Flynn. He can't get himself to kill 2 children, so he takes them across the English Channel and out of Britain. The deadline for this change is set to 28 days. The now-wrecked helicopter of Flynn has received a message on the radio, with a man with a French accent delivering a message of pity. Then a crowd of infected run through a subway tunnel. They emerge into the sun, and they rush towards the Eiffel Tower.